Last week, Colin Moriarty leaked a Tomb Raider script that was being used for casting and some details of the new Tomb Raider game on his podcast from Last Day in Media. And now it seems that Square Enix isn't happy about it. This is an article from Video Games Chronicle. They say Square Enix demands Patreon remove leaked Tomb Raider script. The script for Project Jawbreaker appeared last week. So it looks like these leaks are real. And I'm definitely not happy about them, but you can hear about my thoughts on them in my other video talking about the leaks. But let's get into this. Crystal Dynamics has filed a DMCA request via Patreon to Last Day in Media after host on one of its podcasts read out a script which is reportedly being used to cast actors for the next Tomb Raider game. The script, which was widely reported on, was featured in an episode of the Sacred Symbols podcast. According to host Colin Moriarty, he was contacted by Patreon and asked to remove the offending material, or risk being suspended from the platform. According to Moriarty, the DMCA came via Square Enix. The Japanese publisher has agreed to sell Crystal Dynamics to the Tomb Raider and the Tomb Raider IP to Embracer, but the completion of the deal is still subject to various regulatory and other external approvals. And this is a quote from Colin. They DMCA'd Patreon to have them ask us to take down the offending audio of us talking about the new Tomb Raider game, Colin said in a video discussing the situation. Interestingly, at the time of writing, no other platform has received a DMCA claim. This is talking about what Digital Millennium Copyright Act is, or DMCA. They say Digital Millennium Copyright Act, DMCA, is federal law that was introduced in 1998 to deal with the advancements in technology allowing for more avenues of piracy in the internet age. It essentially protects platforms such as YouTube and Patreon by allowing them to be safe from legal action should a user upload copyrighted content. I was acting in the notion that this is fair use. This is general interest. This is of huge general interest. I didn't break into Crystal Dynamics to steal it, Colin said. Fair use is a protection from the DMCA which allows the use of copyrighted content in very specific contexts, usually with the requirement being some kind of transformative take on the material, e.g., using clips of a game in the context of a review. And people have read leaked scripts before and there's been no DMCA takedowns filed against them. Like Robert Meyer Burnett, who's a film YouTuber, he read out a complete script of Duel of the Fates, which was going to be the 9th Star Wars movie instead of The Rise of Skywalker, but that got trashed, and he got his hands on the complete script, and he read the whole thing, and nothing happened to him. Now, I don't know necessarily, I'm not a lawyer, I don't know if it does violate the DMCA guidelines, but people have done it before and nothing's happened, so I don't know. I feel like it shouldn't, but I have no clue. And here's another quote. Chris's reading of it is insane. There's no way anyone would take it seriously, Colin argues, referring to his co-host Chris Maldonado reading the script in a faux Cockney accent. Maybe Square Enix did get mad at that because it seemed like they were making fun of it, which they kind of were, it seems. I haven't heard this podcast because it's behind Patreon and I don't subscribe to his Patreon, but from what they're saying here, that's what it sounds like. Quote, "We are not going to take all of it down unless we are forced to do that," Colin says, referring to the edited version of the podcast that now exists on Patreon, contrasted with the original versions featuring the script reading, which currently on Apple Podcasts and YouTube at the time of writing. Oh, so it is on YouTube now. Okay, I might check that out later then. According to the alleged scripts, the next Tomb Raider is internally known as Project Jawbreaker, and is described as an action-adventure game set in a modern-day world rocked by mysterious cataclysm. Developer Crystal Dynamics announced the next Tomb Raider game had entered development using Unreal Engine 5 earlier this year. So, in my opinion, this just makes Square Enix look bad. And it obviously proves that these are real. And there's been a lot of backlash to it, so it just makes them look even worse. It's like a Naughty Dog situation, like when The Last of Us 2 leaks came out, and people weren't even showing anything. They were just talking about them, and they were striking them. It was absolutely ridiculous. And while this goes a little further than that, I still, in my opinion, shouldn't be an issue, but I don't know if it does go against DMCA laws. But I also went to this Push Square article because there's a lot of comments talking about these leaks and how they don't like them. And even this Push Square writer, Sammy Barker, is not happy with them. He says, he or she, I'm not sure, says, to be honest, the writing in recent entries has been absolutely atrocious. So while Moriarty and co. were playful with their mocking reenactment of the script, we're hopeful Square Enix will go back to the drawing board. In fact, we're not overly keen on the underlying concept of a squad-based Tomb Raider game. While we appreciate Crystal Dynamics' desire to do something a little bit different, Lara Croft never particularly struck us as a team player. We suppose that's the character's trait the game is attempting to explore, but we're not really feeling it, are you? And as I've said before, I am not feeling that. That is not Lara Croft. She's a loner. Even though she has Jonah with her in the Survivor trilogy, he's always either captured or just on the sidelines, not really doing anything. Like, he doesn't go with her most of the time. She's normally out by herself. She's always really been a loner. But the comments here, like I said, are not too keen on these leaks either. This guy Humperdew says, sounds utterly abysmal. What a terrible, terrible idea. Casco, yikes. Co-op Tomb Raider? Crystal Dynamics, are you now trying to take the success, in quotes, of your Avengers game to Tomb Raider? I don't know if it's going to be co-op. I don't think it is. I think it's just, you're just going to have other, like, NPCs tag along with you, like Uncharted sometimes. Like with Sully or Sam or Elena, Chloe, Cutter, something like that. But I could be wrong. Maybe it is going to be like Avengers. Maybe you'll have options like, again, Avengers has, where you can play it by yourself or you can play it with multiple people, but that didn't go so well for them. They lost, I think, hundreds of millions on that game. At least millions. So, I don't know why they'd be going for that again. RB Mango, Square Enix clearly doesn't understand the Streisand effect. Also, the dialogue that was read out didn't inspire much confidence. It sounds painfully generic. Fenbobs, one by one, all of my favorite franchises are being destroyed. Please not Tomb Raider 2, I feel ya. That is true. Maybe not so much in gaming, but it does happen in gaming, but in the film industry, in TV industry, absolutely. Sam MR, I hope this isn't a cliche where one of her team members becomes a traitor near the end. I'm afraid that this is going to be mediocre at best after hearing the dialogue. And here's another one from him. You also forgot to mention her female love interest. He says, which will trigger a lot of people, but that will, quote-unquote, trigger people. And it makes me upset because, like we've said, she's a loner. She's never been interested in dating. And she's never needed to. So just to shoehorn that in, especially all of a sudden to make her a lesbian, it just seems forced. You really don't need that in the game, in her story. That just seems like something they want to do to be progressive. So yeah, it does upset me a bit, and it is going to upset a lot of other people, but not because they're homophobic or we're homophobic. Just because it doesn't need to be in her story. MFT Rex, yes, because Crystal Dynamics has such a solid track record for creating co-op games. This guy is the first one I've seen defending it on here. And then Sideko. Lara Croft in the Temple of Osiris was a co-op game. Didn't work out well. And that is true as well. And there's more. I could go on, but I don't really need to. I know this is kind of a small sample size, but I mean, obviously people aren't buying into this, and if this is anything to go off of, it's not going to turn out the way that they want it to. So I just think they're making it worse with DMCAing that podcast. So I do hope they scrap it, and I hope, but I don't think they will, drop this DMCA claim. But what do you think about this whole situation, and what do you think about the leaks if you haven't already commented on my last video about this? Let me know in the comments. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, share. Thanks for watching. I have another channel called Thoughtful Outlaw Sports where I talk about basketball, baseball, football, anything else sports related I'm interested in. So check that out, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.